And
once you hear that sound, alam nyo na magiging ibig sabihin yan. It's time for another edition of Who the Heck Are We? And I am coming to you inside the PBA Bubble. Dito sa Clark Angeles City, Pampanga. My name is Jay De La Cruz. I'm joined with Lance Fernandez, Claro Manzano, and Claudia Parain. And here we are once again. Shout out, by the way, to Enrique last week for filling in for me. Maraming salamat. I was really, really busy nung time na yon kasi approaching this bubble, sobra. Dalawang beses tinurok yung ilong ko. And I can say that I don't really appreciate. I don't know about you guys. Claudia, nagpa-swab test ka na, di ba?
times already, yeah. It's
Oh,
it's
sarap
not
ng
the most
feeling.
comfortable thing that you you
Oh,
want poked in your body. So
oh.
yeah.
Lance, naranasan mo na?
Naranasan ko na at parang mababahing ka talaga pag tinusok sa'yo.
Claro, have you experienced it?
No, yung closest, they drained some mucus, I think, in my nose, but I could feel something popping out. So I think I experienced it. Nag-training na before.
Oh. Okay, so better not experience it. Kaya payo namin sa iyo. At sa lahat ng iba rin na nakikinig sa atin, please stay at home, please stay safe, please stay healthy, wash your hands, wear your mask, okay? And social distancing, huwag kalilimutan. Anyway, since I am here in the bubble, magandang pag-usapan na rin natin is yung bubble mismo. But we're not gonna talk about the NBA bubble, which is in its conclusion. And nasa transition phase na sila kung ano yung gagawin nila after the championship. And hindi rin natin pag-uusapan yung PBA kasi it's ongoing. By the time that this episode already airs, we're already 5 days in the resumption of the season. But let's talk about something about the same thing, the same bubble concept, but this time it will be applied on an international scale and which involves different countries. So ang pag-uusapan natin yan is the FIBA Asia Bubble. Ngayon, just to give you a brief background lang, the thing about here is marami FIBA Asia qualifiers, the 2021 FIBA Asia qualifiers still ongoing. Nang maputol siya nung pandemic na to, nitong worldwide pandemic na to. So, a lot of games were postponed, a lot of games were halted, and supposedly we are about to play the second and the third windows of that qualifier this November and February. But apparently, hindi pa natin matuloy yon kasi nga, iba-iba pa yung sitwasyon ng iba't ibang bansa with regards to this pandemic. So, FIBA thought about copying or executing the bubble concept na pinag-umpisan ng NBA tsaka ng WNBA. Now, we're going to talk about here, we're going to ask 5 questions about this bubble concept ng FIBA. Okay, so 5 questions. I hope you guys are ready. And dahil nga 5 questions, ang itatanong ko ngayon, dapat 5 rin tayo nag-uusap-usap ngayon. Okay? So, I think kailangan na natin ipasok ang ating guest dito. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to introduce to you my roommate in the PBA Bubble, Noel Zarate. Please come in, Noel Zarate.
The voice of the
Where's
PBA.
Noel? I already admitted him. Where is he?
Well, pasok.
So JC hiding in your room?
Noel, where are you? I admitted him already.
Baka may jamming session si sir.
Joining pa siya. Ayan.
Ayan na, joining. Ayan na, nag-join na.
Ayan na.
Nabitin eh.
Nabitin eh.
Ayan na. Sige. Welcome, Noel.
Who the heck are you?
We'll find out.
Hi.
Sir,
Hello, sir.
This is our room in the bubble, and that's our sari-sari store right there. I'm manning the store while Jay is hosting this show. Hi, guys. I'm honored
Hello,
to
sir.
go, and thank you for having me here at the bubble in Pampanga, and I'd love. It's great to join you guys.
All right, thank you very much. Saktong-sakto to. Ay well-decorated FIBA game announcer itong si Noel Zarate. Matutulungan niya tayo.
Well-decorated ang sari-sari store niyo.
Yun na nga. Well-decorated yung
Well-decorated room.
Well, actually, pantry namin yan. Paalala, kasama rin ako sa kwarto.
Hindi actually pantry yan. That's actually supposed to be the cabinet. Ginawa lang namin siyang pantry kasi dami namin dalang pagkain.
Ah, okay.
You never know. You can never can tell.
You can never can tell. Okay.
Alam ko na, sir. I will go there when it's time to trick or treat. Perfect timing. October
Oo
na
nga.
ngayon.
Paano magdamit ka na empleyado ng Quest tapos mag-ikot-ikot ka.
Para magpaplano ng high sick klaro no? Pag nagdamit siya ng gano'n, pag nag-costume siya, no?
Mangyayari
Halo.
ng plastic balloon, di ba?
Oo.
Bigyan nga ni Belga ng Ariel.
Good luck making it past the gate.
Correct, that's
Oh,
true.
give us an idea. How do you enter? Parang what's the overview? Once you get there, what happens before you check in the hotel room?
Kana magkwento, Noel.
So yung nangyari dito, so getting here, wala namang problema. Then you get through the gate, there's security. Itatanong nila which group from the PBA you are. So nakapasok na kayo, no? Then you stay on the bus for a while because they unload all of your equipment. Yung mga dala mong damit, yung mga dala mong bagahe, they unload all of that muna. Tapos ipipila nila yan. Pag nakapila yan, aamuin muna ni aso. Ikot-ikot dog. Kung may contraband or kung may or may mga bawal, di ba? So when the dog is done, eto na yung mga nagdi-disinfect. As in paliliguan nila yung bag nyo ng disinfectant and everything. And while all of that is happening, everybody's still in the bus. Then they take all of your stuff inside the hotel and then 2 by 2, pabababain kayo sa bus. And then they're going to make you sign several forms and then you have to wait for your testing. Then they give you your room key and everything like that. But you're all socially spaced dun sa lobby. So after everybody's already cleared, isa-isa na yan papasok dun sa swab testing area. And they insert not 1, but 2 sticks in your beautiful nose. And then when you insert, hindi mo alam kung tatawa ka o iiyak ka. Because of the sensation of having 2 sticks.
Si Claudia naiiyak habang kinukwento mo eh.
Because I've experienced that 3 times, so it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant.
It's not two in a row. Diba? They just take 1 nostril, you're good. Ito dalawa, they put something pa in your tongue. So it's like a 3-pronged attack on your yun nangyari doon. So after you get that, you're cleared, you get your bagahe, then you go straight to your room and you're staying in your room for minimum 48 hours. As in you cannot leave your room for 48 hours until you get the test results or until somebody calls you, okay, you're cleared. Like our table officials were just recently cleared already to leave. Laya na daw sila. Kami ni Jay, the quarantine process, we're eating so much food because we are always fed in this place, but we're having cabin fever already.
And we're bored. That's the thing. We're not hungry, we're bored. Yun lang naman yun eh.
Ikot ako ng ikot dito sa pantry, sabi ni Jay, you're not hungry, you're bored.
Hindi kasi nilagyan ng video yung TV.
Bawal na, 'di ba? Sa mga cities bawal na kasi may nag-online class.
As of today, they've banned karaoke. Ayan, go ahead, go Jay, go.
Mm-hmm.
Pero good to see you from the PBA Bubble. Hope everything goes well.
Yeah.
Yun nga eh. And this is the concept that FIBA is actually trying to copy. Yun yung gusto nilang sundan. However, the execution is hindi pa malinaw. Pero before we discuss about the execution, actually wala pa kasi execution eh. Being us na who the heck are we nga ba, diba? Na nagmamagaling, tayo na yung magsasabi kung paano nila execute yon. Pero before we go to that part is, let's tignan natin kung ano yung maging recap. Kung ano nga ba yung nangyari before this pandemic, bago mag-pandemic, and ano ba yung nangyayari during the 2021 FIBA Asia qualifiers. Klaro, ano yung naabutan mo with regards sa FIBA Asia?
With FIBA Asia, I think we had a game in Indonesia. Gilas had a game. And then after that, they started postponing because of COVID-19. And I remember following a bit of Jericho Cruz because he was playing for Guam. That was really interesting. I think his trip was cut short. I don't know, maybe he only got to play 1 game. Then I think I saw umuwi na siya back to the Philippines.
Tama. Si Jericho, actually, he played the Guam game. Pero I can't remember, Lance, if sino yung ba na-cancel na raw? The home game of the Philippines is canceled, di ba?
Yeah.
Lance?
Yeah, it was canceled already. Tama si Claro. Isang laro lang yung nagawa ng Philippines against Indonesia. Ito sa route, so 170. So 30-point lead. And the thing about the Philippines kasi pre-qualified na yung Philippines. So prior to Philippines playing, there have been a lot of nations that have been contesting their slots already. So kaya isang laro pa lang yung Philippines kasi they have been pre-qualified. They did not undergo the pre-qualifiers kumbaga. So kaya nataon na kasagsagan ng COVID, they just happen to play just one game.
Oh, that's correct. Tapos Noel, you're supposed to call the Thailand game, 'di ba? Yung home game natin na na-cancel.
Yes.
Tapos ang nangyari doon is
Si Noel,
yun nga.
yes.
Oh.
Yes, Noel.
Nagugutom yan. No, you were supposed to call the Thailand game. And then I can't remember kung ang daming games na na-cancel din, including si Thailand. I don't know, including the Thailand game, then remembered about Jericho Cruz. Pero ang abiso lang sa atin, diba, we just found out on the news na canceled yung Thailand home game na yun eh.
Actually, yung nangyari pa sa akin is tinawagan pa ako na may chance daw na ma-postpone. The word was postpone yung game. So sinabi ko, okay, ano yan, postpone a few days, a week, depende pa yan sa sa magiging resulta ng decision, of course, of FIBA Asia. And then that suspension or the postponement is until now. Actually, I was called last week about 2023 already, not for this one.
Not for this one.
Para parehas tayo tinawagan for 2023, pero sa 2021 wala pang mangyayari.
Advanced.
Oh. So, yun yung sad part eh. Pero considering Claudia, South Korea has already played their 2 games nung window na yan. And take note February itong first window natin, di ba?
Yeah.
Tapos,
yeah.
lockdown was on March.
Yeah, our lockdown was actually March 15. And then I think there was a deliberation whether they were going to play it here because the PBA had a game. Remember?
Yes,
right. And then they were thinking, we'll just move it. First, it was supposed to be March 2, and then it went to March 8, 5 days lang. And then they were thinking, the PBA said, we'll just postpone it. And until now, it's been almost 7 months of the postponement. And then this Sunday, October 10, they're gonna play. But in terms of the FIBA Gilas game, no, what transpired there? Diba, we had the SEA Games was Coach Tim Cohn, right? And then that was just co-tournament. He only had to do
SEA Games lang ang deal niya.
Yeah, which was just the SEA Games. And then after that was Mark Dickel, right? Diba, there was a bit of a deliberation. Who's gonna be? Is it still gonna be Coach Tim for this window? But I think what they did was they wanted to change their roadmap and use Mark Dickel and different players. So I think it was an experiment in a way to use the Gilas cadets, right? For this window, and I think we saw what Lawrence said. It was a rout against Indonesia. It was 30 points, tama, Lawrence, and I don't particularly remember exactly what happened in the game, but it goes to show that the cadets. They were on a roll. No, it was a very good game, and yun nga lang, the fact that we wanted to watch them here. It so happened that COVID took over the whole of the world, and hopefully, it doesn't stop FIBA to look into what the options are moving forward after this. No, so from what I remember, it was a good. Baldwin also came into the picture trying to help, and then eventually they asked Mark Dickel to coach the Gilas team. Yeah, the Gilas cadets. Yeah.
Actually, Mark Dickel was placed as an interim kasi nga they were still in the deliberation, that long deliberation of hiring a long-time Gilas coach na aabot hanggang 2023.
Yeah.
And actually, in that Indonesia game, all the Gilas cadets, Isaac Go, Ray Suerte, Alin Bononadi, and the Nieto twins, actually they're included in that pool. Doon sa 24-man pool na yun. However, in that Indonesia game, ang naglaro is, if I'm not mistaken, Isaac Go and Thirdy Ravenna. Actually, Thirdy Ravenna is also included.
Now I'm remembering the game now also. Yeah, I'm remembering.
Yung iba, they're sidelined. And I think they were scheduled to play in the Thailand game.
Yeah.
Na hindi nga natuloy. So,
yun yung
nangyari, di ba?
No, well,
Am I correct, Claudia?
I think so. I think even was this no. I'm not sure. My memory may not be good because old age helps. And I'm asking one of our one of our elders in this forum. was
Oh,
it the time that 30 made a big block and he was called for a foul? Was it that game?
I'm not. Now you're including me in your senior moment. So
Yeah, I
I
wanted.
think it is. I
Was it?
think
Was
it
it?
is.
Claro?
yes, it
I
that
believe
yes,
so.
that's
But
game.
he was called for a foul, but it looked clean.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a beautiful foul. Oh, beautiful foul. Beautiful. Beautiful foul. It was a beautiful block, but then he was called for a foul,
It was a foul.
and then it was either a foul or a technical.
He did a stare down.
I
Yeah,
think
because
naging
of course
flagrant.
I would do a stare down
In
because
upgrade ba?
yeah,
I think in upgrade.
I
Yeah,
believe
so-
so.
correct.
He did a
Was it-
stare
was it-
down kasi.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Well,
I can't remember,
but still, he was
that's
the
a big
leading
block.
scorer of the game.
Yes, he was the
So,
leading
Yeah.
scorer and he was
Yeah.
teammates with his brother, keeper.
mhm.
Tandem
Yes,
sila
that's
nun.
right. It's coming back. It's
Oh.
coming back. Puro yun
Oh.
nga, puro Atenista.
It was around tapos. The thing is, Indonesia wasn't complete that time kasi hindi pa approved si Lester Prosper
Mhm.
tsaka si Brando Jawato. So short man din si Raiko Toroman nun sa Indonesia. Kaya natambakan sila lalo.
Pero ngayon, grabe, they're ano na.
Approved na yung dalawa.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna talk about more of that later sa mga lineups na mangyayari. Pero, the thing is, yun nga, after that postponed game, si South Korea, nakompleto niya yung window niya. They completed that sweep. 2-0 sila ngayon. Philippines only played one game. Thailand is 0-1. And Indonesia also is 0-2 kasi natalo rin sila sa South Korea. Or no, hindi natuloy yung game or hindi, natuloy sila because South Korea also defeated Indonesia. Now, moving forward, it's October na ngayon, we are approaching November, and the original schedule of the second window of the continuation of the FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers for 2021 is November. Okay? So, buong Asia to, on the west side, do sa Middle East areas, yung mga Iran, got Lebanon and Jordan, all those Middle Eastern teams. And pati sa east side, sa far east side, the Japan, China, South Korea, Philippines tayo. Continuation na sa November 2021. However, it's already October. Ngayon, si FIBA having this concern and also already seeing a template na nakita sa NBA, they decided to use the bubble concept. However, ang perception ng mga tao dito, especially the guys from the SPP and the media, their perception is mangyayari tong bubble na to in November kaagad.
Okay.
Gets?
Yeah.
Pero you also have to think that there's also another window in February. So, maliit lang yung gap, di ba? So, I'll start with Claudia.
Yes.
The question is here, when do you think that bubble will happen?
I'm hoping it before the end of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
The good thing about the bubble happening in November is because there is already a model that they could do, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's already the NBA model. There's also the PBA model. Remember, this is happening in Asia, right? And I believe also prior to having the PBA or the NBA, there was the Taiwanese league that was happening, and also CBA. Yeah.
Oh.
So right? So they could, FIBA could look at what works and what does not work in running this leg, no. And I hope it again, I hope this leg has a game. They have a game by the end of the year. Why do I say that? Because right now I'm gonna speak on emotions. Like the PBA is about to start, and I'm sure all of us here are pretty much excited. It is a beacon of hope for people, right? You could hear all the nasty things about saying wala naman nanonood, but that's a minority. People, once they start watching the PBA every day, it brings back the life. It's exactly what happened to NBA, right? Imagine if we see that kind of those games in Asia, against competing teams by the end of the year. It will not just help the countries, cooperate and how they could do it, you know. You know, or it's gonna bring, I keep saying, sports unifies people. It could also unify countries on how they could, you know, how they could move forward, or the you know, the risk factors that they could also take into place. You know, those things. Basta unison, they help each other. Help, you know, South Korea, Philippines, Indonesia, they could help each other. You know, I think a question that will probably be asked is where it should be. I'll probably answer that later, but
Mamaya.
yeah. But
Malalaman
again,
natin
I
yan.
think it's, for me, is that the fact that they could pull what was good in the NBA, and also what is good with the PBA. So hopefully, the bubble that the PBA created, you know, the FIBA could look into it. You know, if the PBA was that stringent, the FIBA could also do exactly the same. And again, it brings back unison. It unifies people. It could unify the whole the Asia, the leg where we are, Group C. Yun.
Okay. So, Lance, do you think may iba pa bang paraan bukod sa bubble si FIBA to continue the Asia Cup qualifiers?
Given the situation now, I don't see any other solution that is safe for everybody. And that's the reason why I am not really optimistic that the next leg will happen in November, because there are still travel restrictions imposed all throughout the world, not just in the 4 countries represented in the pool. So that alone is an obstacle for you to be able to continue with the playing the basketball games. And then it's too sudden to continue, because you have to think of logistics, you have to think of hotel rooms, you have to think of the basketball courts that you need to prepare, the referees, and all the technical stuff that you have to bring in. And it's already October 8th, and that's November already. So that's a short preparation period. You can argue that it's just 4 teams, but still you need to disinfect and make sure that it's safe for everybody physically to come in and to stay in the hotel, and of course play the games. So that's why, for those reasons alone, if I were me and playing the odds as well, I am really not optimistic that it will happen by this year, because even December is too sudden. It's just 2 months away.
You know, but not all travel restrictions it's not all stopped. It's just the Philippines that, for the matter of the fact that we have high cases. But you know, Bangkok, you could already fly in. Vietnam, you could fly in. But the restrictions, you know. But if you know, but tama naman din sila. Yeah.
Then you also have to consider if the teams themselves are willing to play. That's the foremost consideration. If just one team withdraws, then the other 3 will also reconsider. Hindi na rin kami pupunta kasi hindi na rin sila pupunta eh. Oh, what's the use? So it all starts from there. If they are willing, all of the teams are willing to play in a bubble setup, it has been proven by the PBA, and it was proven by the NBA, and it will be proven by the PBA it is effective. Then FIBA already has a template. Pero it all starts pa rin with the willingness of the teams and the whoever officials they have, if they are willing to play in that setup.
Claro, do you share the same sentiment na will FIBA use a bubble concept, and will it push ng November, or baka they could wait as far as the third window, the actual window of the third window, which is February 2021?
I think it's good that they're considering the bubble, but I share the same sentiments as Lance and Claudia, because we have to take note, the 2020 AFF Suzuki Cup, for example, was moved. So I think it's gonna take place about April. That's what's penciled in right now based on the announcements as of this recording also. So I think that's like a more realistic time frame. I think February is gonna be too soon also. But if we put it in the second quarter of 2021, I think all countries have to get to work now. And when I mean getting to work, that's really flattening the curve. But you know, let's see how it pans out. But I'm curious to see maybe what Sir Noel is going to say, given all of his experience, lalo na with FIBA.
I think you should share it, Noel, kung yung pinag-usapan natin kanina.
my thing is kasi the whole concept of the competition was changed a couple of years ago nung ginaya ng basketball ang football. Diba? You wanted now the home and away format and everything, which is cool. I mean, it's been happening for a couple of years already. Pero given this pandemic na meron tayo, it would be actually great to just revert to the old style of having the tournament in one country. Kuba, qualifiers kayo in one country. So technically, bubble din yon. And then Jay and I were talking kanina about the possible places. Claudia mentioned a few. She mentioned Thailand. She mentioned Vietnam. I mean, these are places na may medyo okay na sila from the COVID thing. But at the same time, there are still a few spikes here and there. One country that really hasn't reported any spikes na matataas at least, or at least sabihin na natin, if you go to one area lang of this country, it's Taiwan. Taiwan for me, because, and Claudia mentioned this earlier, that the Taiwan Professional League is already on. The SBL has been going on already without an audience. But at the same time, they have the infrastructure. They have several basketball courts there. Kung titignan mo yung mga practice area within the same vicinity ito. So you can have practice venues, you can have the hotel, you can actually create an entire bubble concept in Taipei alone. Diba? You can go to Kaohsiung if you want. Mas konti nga lang ang facilities doon. Pero in Taipei alone, you do have a lot of facilities already that can accommodate the word bubble. In fact, in Thailand, they also have this. But I think the study has to go out muna that where is this country or where's this area that we can have very minimal risk of getting everybody infected and just hold the bubble there. And to answer the question that everybody's been answering, I don't think it's going to happen this year. I agree with Jay that it has to probably happen in February, but then they compress everything already. Instead of just playing a home and away game in February, you're probably playing 2 home and away games already. So kumbaga, you're playing 4 games in one venue. So it's like the same concept of before the home and away was invented. They hold it in one place and you'll get it done. Qualifiers pa lang naman tayo. Now the question is, FIBA Asia Cup itself in 2021, will it be in the same place pa rin? I think that would be the trend, diba? Judging from what's been happening the past few months.
Oh, tama yun. We're gonna talk about the FIBA Asia Cup, yung mismong FIBA Asia Cup 2021 later. Pero, Claro, do you want to add something?
One quick thing we can add, because they've been traveling from one country to another. I think they hit about 9 countries already. It's Formula One. They're moving bubbles, in fact. So one team is one bubble, and then the broadcast team, they're all split up, maybe groups of 3. So if a person from let's say one broadcast team tests positive, then the other guys are gonna have to quarantine. That's something that has been successful, but we have to take note that these guys are in Europe, so it's something that's working there because they're in a totally different situation in terms of COVID. And then, for example, you have someone from name any F1 team, let's say McLaren or Ferrari. Someone's gonna come from the factory but was not in the previous race. They test positive, but they're not with the main team. So what happens there is operations are still not affected. They still get to isolate the positive person, but things still get to go smoothly.
Pero,
I just want to add yung like the French Open right now, there's several golf tournaments that are going on international. I'm not even talking about the United States NFL. But they're going on in the NFL na walang tao sa audience. They have cardboard fans and stuff like that. But kunyari, say like the French Open, you want to look at the Philippines is number 20 right now pagdating sa COVID cases around the world. France ranks higher, actually, kung tutuusin. If you're going to look at the country's ranking, it's not really about the country. It's about the place where you're going to hold it. Bubble nga, you're not getting an entire city to become your bubble. That's a really huge bubble. You're getting an entire area. And that's why I keep on saying Taiwan, because nga, there are a lot of facilities dyan na dikit-dikit that they can just hold in one place. In fact, one university there has about 10 basketball courts already. I mean, that's more than enough. And the weather right now in Taiwan is pretty good. Hindi na siya mainit.
Yeah.
So actually, do some practices outdoor also if you're just going to do some drills. So there's a lot of study that has to go through this. But I agree with most of you na it's not going to happen hastily. You really have to study this. This PBA bubble that we're in right now, this took months of negotiations, months of preparation. And what we all went through here, I mean, we're not the only guys who had 2 sticks up our nose. Everybody had to go through that dito. Walang VIP dito. We're all following the IATF regulations. And I'm sure when you go to another country, they have their own regulations you adhere to. So it's going to take a really, really big amount of preparation to get this done. So I'm probably going February on this one as well.
Tsaka, if anything, knowing FIBA, the short time that I've been actually involved sa local federation, knowing FIBA, hindi sila magre-risk na gawin kaagad dito with so little preparation. They're going to think this through, consider everything, all the resources that they need just to make it happen. Kasi gaya ng nabanggit ni Noel kanina, it's only 2020 pero pinag-usapan na ng FIBA ngayon 2023, 'di ba? Kinausap na nga tayo eh. So knowing FIBA, they will not push through with this bubble with like 10 or 8 weeks time. Perhaps they'll do this talagang they might consider the third window already. Yung Feb 2021.
To add to that, Jay, they've actually been meeting already na matagal na. They've been meeting for months already on how to get this done. So if in case they do say, all right, tuloy na tayo noong November, this was planned months ago also. There are some things that we're not privy to at this point na sa mga meetings nila, because when I was called also by the SBP, they said, I'm going to share something with you. One of our representatives from SBP said, there will be a bubble. They're planning it. Baka by November yon. So when he says they're planning it, they didn't start yesterday. They must have started a few months ago. So when they say, okay, tuloy ang bubble dito on this date in November in this area, that was already premeditated. So again, going back to Claudia, we might be able to have it this year if the planning had gone as far back as May. Probably, I guess that's how long ago you need to prepare. Mga 6 months, 7 months to get it done. And it might happen within this year if the planning was successful. Pero if the planning is not successful, may konting loopholes, I think February would be a good time to start.
Yeah, just to add, no, like I for me, like I said earlier, now there are countries like Thailand, Bangkok, limited. I think there's only like 4 or 5 cases, right? Taiwan 0. Even since the start of the year, they have been 0. Then they've had their baseball, their baseball league and their basketball league. So they could be a big model for the FIBA. Right, and it could just be certain, like siguro if we were part of the organizing committee, we could put like even Australia and New Zealand, they could have their own leg in Australia or in New Zealand, right? Our leg could be Asia, it could be in Taiwan. Tama naman din si Noel. For me, again, emotionally, if it was, I wish it was gonna be this year. Emotionally, why? It will bring the countries together. Again, it will unify it will unify countries, and I think that's what the world needs is unification.
Oh, I agree. Pero we have to consider here that FIBA is FIBA Asia is not only dealing with one zone. We're talking about the Group A pa lang, yung South Korea, Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand. They're dealing with 5 other groups na meron that goes as far back as Guam. Meron din silang group na hanggang nandun sa Palestine. So, dulo-dulo yan. So, that's a lot of FIBA Asia has a lot on their plates right now in thinking about or making that bubble concept happen. Pero since nabanggit na ni Noel kanina, his ideal location for a FIBA Asia qualifier bubble is Taiwan. That's actually the third question here in this episode. If you were to choose, ano yung pinakamagandang naiisip nyo na location for this FIBA Asia qualifier bubble to finish all the qualifying windows? Lance, anong lugar naiisip mo?
Well, bago sumagot si Lance,
sige.
Guys.
Sige, go. Lance, go ahead.
This portion is brought to you by...
Kala ko.
Oh.
Brought to you by...
Oh. Pinatay
Noel Sari Store.
Pinatay ko ni Noel ilaw, nagsi-CR eh. Pero Lance,
best venue. Cubao? Hindi. Joke lang. Well, the PBA was considering Cubao, but for all we know, it will never work.
It won't work.
Well, there have been countries that have been proven that they have been resilient and they were able to contain COVID-19 already. So Thailand is one, and then Vietnam also, and Taiwan has been mentioned, so 3. So that's 3 venues that are potential, wherein you have lessened the risk of COVID-19 already. And at the same time, the facilities are also ready. And I'm not sure if Vietnam and Thailand has the same number of facilities available as compared to Taiwan. So, and of course, you wouldn't risk long haul flights pa eh. As much as possible, 2-3 hours max pa lang ang flight dapat when you travel internationally, you wouldn't risk 6, 7, 8 hour flights pa. So if I were to choose, I guess there's a ghost. There's a ghost at the back.
Okay, di ba? Okay.
Parang damit ng politiko yung so off topic.
Hindi, yung damit ni Noel, ano yan? NBTC uniform. Tama, di ba?
NBTC. Okay.
NBTC uniform yan.
So, there's 3 candidates for an ideal venue. So, there's Thailand, Taiwan, and Vietnam. So, those are ideal venues for a potential bubble because they have curtailed COVID-19 and somehow they do have the facilities to make it work.
So, sino grand champion mo between the 3?
Taiwan. Kasi mula Batanes, pwede na magsagwa ng Philippines eh.
Mag-rubber boat lang eh.
Magka-cast away na lang sila, yung parang si
Wilson!
Tom Hanks. Pwede na yun. Tipid pa ang SBP Tipid ang SBP. Wala nang flight. Barko na lang.
May tanong ako, sorry. Am I on? May tanong ako. Claudia, ano yung sagwan?
Ha?
Ano ang sagwan?
Patay.
Towel already.
Teka. Lads. We are here once again.
Ding.
Ay, sorry. Nakalimutan ko mag-bell. Ikaw na, Lance. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
We are here once again.
Claudia versus Tagalog.
Kasama din si Claro, ha?
I've always wanted to be on this show. So I can ask Claudia a Tagalog term. It is a life goal. And thank you for that in my bucket list. It's off my bucket list. So Claudia, what is sagwan?
Something very bad.
Use it in a sentence, Noel.
Wait, that might give away the answer for me.
No.
What's yours, Claro? Mine is something very bad.
Sinabi na ni Lawrence kanina, pwede na magsagwan. Mula saan yung Basilan?
Mula Batanes, papuntang Taiwan.
Oh!
Okay. I have an idea too. Parang ocean-related so you can go there or something.
That they could traverse.
I see, that's close, right? Traverse is close.
No, you said something about the ocean.
I said there's the ocean so that you can go there. It's related to traveling. You can from the Philippines, you go there to Taiwan.
Oh, traverse is different. Wait, are we correct though?
What is traverse in Tagalog?
Sagwan.
You're wrong. Both of you are wrong.
Both of you are still far from the answer.
Ay, yung score ko pa rin -1 so overall tally. Claudia 0.
0.
Claudia is back at par.
Yeah, 0.
Si Claro is 1, -1.
It's a noun.
It's not traverse.
It's a certain motion, sagwan. It's a certain motion that you do. Yes, it's traversing, pero it's a certain motion.
Freestyle, like freestyle. You swim.
It's a verb. Not totally verb. It's a verb.
Look at Sir Noel's reaction. For those in the audio, he's just 2 hands on his head. Sir, can't believe it. I'm sorry.
Pero diba, what is the actual sagwan? Diba?
Sagwan is 2 things. All right, sagwan is 2 things. It is a noun and it is also an action.
Yes.
It's a noun. Ngayon, ito ang tanong ko. Ano yung Tagalog ng paddle?
I forgot.
Oh.
Sorry.
Is the answer.
Yes. I know it's a noun.
Sagwan is a paddle. And sagwan is also the motion of rowing from Batanes to Taiwan. Sagwan. What was your bad thing, Claudia?
Sagwan. Something very bad.
Maybe she's thinking of sagwa. Right?
Yeah.
I hope you put my score back to 0 for that.
Sige, we'll consider. Level po lang sila. Because of
may contribution si Claro.
Nag-away pa kami ng traverse at saka crossing in the river.
Kala ko ito na yung huling episode ng Who Deck. May nag-aaway na
Well, at least that was fun. At least natupad rin yung pangarap ni Noel na makita ito, na masaksihan ito.
If it was the last episode, Noel Zarate as the guest, well, okay na rin. Okay, so we learned something new today.
We learned something new.
Sagwan.
Sagwan, nalaman ni Claudia at saka ni Claro yon. So, that's a short episode of Claudia and Claro versus Tagalog.
Shout out na rin sa lahat ng PhilAm na nasa PBA Bubble. You learned a new Tagalog word today, Sagwan.
Yes.
So, going back to the topic, Lance, ang grand champion mo si Taiwan. That's the location of the FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers bubble. Claro, sino yung sa'yo? Sagwan.
Lance has basis there on numbers kasi and the way these countries flattened their respective curves. But I want to throw a dark horse into the hat. But at the end of the day, it will still be Taiwan or Thailand. But I think you can consider South Korea. But I know they got a second wave after they resumed their sports. But the fact that they've been able to deal with things, I think we should still keep them in the picture. But at the end of the day, I will still go with Taiwan or Thailand. With Thailand, I don't know if they can host everyone because they're a football country. I don't know if they have all the indoor stadiums in the world like we do in the Philippines. But if they can, why not? We see how the Thais work and they're very good at what they do.
Quick question, Noel. Yung paligid ba ng yung Stadium 29, kaya ba mag-host ng bubble ng Thailand?
Just to tell you a little story about Stadium 29. Stadium 29 is actually the Thailand equivalent of LVN Pictures. It's a sound stage. They built a basketball court in a sound stage. That's what Stadium 29 is. It's actually Studio 29 because there are 29 studios in that area. Okay, so Stadium 29 happens to be the biggest sound stage. So the answer to your question is Stadium 29 is located in a very remote part of Bangkok na wala halos ingay. It's near the highway but it's not close to, it's the only basketball court in the area. So for Thailand to host something like that, it has to be like in an area na may maraming basketball court. And there are a lot of basketball courts within Bangkok mismo, within the city limits. So Stadium 29 is probably the best gym to have it. That you can have the championship game there, but it's a small place. It seats about 800 people maximum na yon. I mean, it's really a sound stage that they just converted. Same thing in Macau. PBL games in Macau, it's in the Venetian. It's a hotel ballroom where we do our games there. So I'm going to give my take on what country is best later on. Pero to answer your question lang, Jay, Stadium 29 is actually a shootingan ng pelikula.
Pero di ba your bet on this one is Taiwan. You're a pro-Taiwan guy to complete this, to finish the Asia Cup qualifiers, di ba?
Yes.
Real quick, you have 29 sound stages. You can have 29 basketball courts. You ship them all over. Okay. Yung flooring ng Ultra, MOA, Araneta, after the PBA bubble, let's ship it over there.
But it's 29 sound stages, you're right, ano? It's 29 sound stage, but Stadium 29 or Studio 29 is the biggest one. The others are very
okay.
Ang sitcom na lang yung mga ibang lugar doon.
Okay, so may asterisk to.
I'll throw something. What happens if the PBA bubble is a big success?
Then it will be the model nga for a lot of tournaments across this region at least. The PBA bubble is not really a bubble kung tutuusin because we have to still travel from Quest where we are right now in Clark to Angeles University Foundation. That's about
roughly what?
Minutes away. Yeah, so we're still probably risking our lives for 15 to 20 minutes to get to the gym. Yeah, pagdating mo sa gym, it's completely sanitized and everything, but there's still that part where you're outside the gym sa kalye. I don't know if you guys have been to AUF, but it's right beside the street.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
You don't enter like a school and then like in Trace or in UP Los Baños where you have to enter the school pa and then the school is already good. But no, this one's on the street. And then there's a gate where the buses go in. So you're still exposed momentarily there. I don't know if we're going to stay in the street or anything like that. But it's technically not a bubble. But to answer Claudia's question, it could be a model if they can find a location. Kaya nga I was helping the Baguio group do this because if it was Baguio, di ba, the main gym would be in, sabihin na natin in
PMA.
All right. Philippine Military Academy, which is just like 5 minutes away from John Hay through Lawakan Road.
Yes.
That would be the main venue. Tapos yung mga practice venues, tatayo na lang sila. But John Hay is a bubble. Yun talaga. You cannot enter, you cannot leave. If it was done in Baguio. They wanted to do the same thing sana with Marriott Hotel. You heard about that bid, right?
Yes,
That
I heard that.
it was going to turn its ballrooms into a basketball court, pretty much the same thing as Disneyland or Disney World sa Orlando. They were going to do that. So I think this is a leak. Don't quote me on this, but the UAAP, if they do plan to hold the bubble, they will use the Marriott system. They're all in the same hotel. They'll just cross that little enclosed bridge, and then they get to all of these ballrooms kung nasaan yung competition venue. If they can find a place, and I think Taiwan would be in the lead in this department, where there is like a hotel, and then may basketball court na malapit, similar to Disney World, I think that could be done. For Vietnam, just to talk about what Lance was talking about, Vietnam is not a basketball country. That's the biggest problem there. So their basketball facilities are very, very limited. Thailand does have, but they're sort of spread out. Taiwan has areas na medyo sarado. So if they want to use the PBA model, use the NBA model, they find that area there, they have time to construct. Yung pa isa. You have time to construct. You want to turn ballrooms into basketball courts, that's also fine. It's been done before and it can be done anytime. But the best way to hold the bubble is for nobody to have to travel from one place to another. The PBA could be successful in this because nga may bus element lang naman kami to get from here to AUF. But it would be the perfect scenario if there was a competition court inside Clark that we didn't have to leave. That would be the ideal bubble talaga.
Actually, ang ginagawa nga ni PBA ngayon is yung additional risk, heightened risk, pero maintaining that same concept. So if PBA is able to pull this off successfully, magiging next model si PBA aside from the NBA, kasi si PBA parang dinagdagan nila yung risk factor dito because of that travel, but still they were able to pull it off to maintain the integrity of that bubble. So Claudia, sino ang pick mo ngayon?
I still pick Taiwan for me. Yeah. Because since the start, I mean, even the spread of COVID, they stopped it, right? I mean, they basically they're a model, you know, not just for sports or sports leagues, but for how to stop a pandemic across the country. So across in your own country. So I would choose Taiwan, no doubt. I would choose Taiwan.
You know, the thing here is here's my choice. If you're only concerned about 2 or 3 groups, Taiwan would be the choice. Pero you have to consider there are 6 groups in the FIBA Asia right now who are doing these qualifier things. Tapos, there's the Middle East part and there's the Far East and the Oceania part. So, sabihin natin, sila Australia, sila New Zealand, they could hold that bubble sa New Zealand na siguro. Kasi you have to remember, New Zealand is already nakapagliga na sila, di ba?
Yeah, beat COVID twice.
So that part, New Zealand can take care of that bubble.
Yeah.
The Middle East side, it's a big question kasi ang daming ang dami pa problema doon. Iran is one of the top 10 sa cases so far. And then
in Dubai, diba?
Dubai, actually iniisip ko, Dubai can be a perfect location for that side.
Yeah, for that area. Yeah.
Dubai will be the best option.
Yeah.
Or hold the entire tournament at the middle of the desert. Walang tao doon.
No,
actually. Yeah.
The thing with Dubai, that's why the PBA also did not continue with Dubai. Yeah, you have this place, may hotel, may court, and everything like that. But there is no way to create practice facilities unless you leave the bubble. So you're talking about teams, sabihin natin, 6 teams need to travel to Dubai. Okay lang, may competition venue, may hotel and everything. You can stay in the bubble, but where do they practice? There's only one competition court talaga. So you really have to leave, and then that exposes you also. Pero Dubai, in terms of, I believe that the PBA All-Star Game will be held in Dubai next year. Kasi nga nabitin sila. They wanted our bubble over there. So Dubai, in terms of competition, is perfect. But you need to look for that place where you actually have a bubble where there are multiple courts. In fact, dito sa Clark, there is a court in the second floor. They installed it. They got the floor from the Philippine Arena and they put that floor in the second floor area. And I was watching the video. It's not naman mababa yung ceiling kasi tumitira pa ng looping shot si Ryan Aranya eh. So, kaya pa yon. So, I guess if there are places in Dubai, like hotels near the Coca-Cola Center, that's the name of the venue there, that can have that kind of like 30 feet clearance na dimensions ng sabihin natin na 200 feet by 400 feet yung yung lugar, and they have several of those, Dubai would be actually a pretty viable option, not only for West Asia but for everybody.
Yeah.
Pero just to close this
I think
question
Clara wanted
already.
to say something.
Say, Clara, go ahead.
Actually, if the PBA does really well, perhaps it can be a venue because Sir Noel was saying maybe there's infections in France, but they're still able to pull it off because they're in a place or in a town where things are relatively safe. And the PBA bubble is right there. And if I'm correct, they're really close to the airport. So I think that can help for logistics if they're going to have a FIBA bubble right there where you guys are right now in Clark.
Pero if anything, to close this, one strong contender here na hindi natin naisip dito could be China. Kasi China actually flattened the curve already. Mas marami pa tayong infections kaysa sa China, and considering that China is the originating country of the virus, di ba? But China, considering all the logistical problem, all the resources that you need, China can put them all up na mabilisan di ba?
I just want to add to what you're saying there, Jay. Yung China, the part where Wuhan is, that's about 2,000 miles from where Hong Kong is. So if you want to hold something in China, it's a big possibility in that Canton area na tinatawag natin, the Guangdong province, where Guangzhou is.
South China na.
South China, Guangzhou, sa Foshan, they have all of these facilities there.
Right.
And Jay is right, they can construct a bubble. In fact, the venue where Gilas played during the World Championship, yung Foshan indoor, ang haba ng pangalan, basta sa Foshan, that was just a basketball court because that was supposed to be the home floor of the Guangdong something ng sa CBA, no? That was supposed to be their home floor. So when they found out that they were hosting the World Championship, they created a mall, a hotel, lahat within that area. That was barren land. It was just a court. But they constructed all of that in less than a year. So pwede.
Well, they could construct the COVID hospital in less than 2 weeks. They could.
Exactly. Exactly.
They can
Kaya ni
construct
China.
a pandemic, so they can build everything.
I wanted to say that, but thank you, Lance, for so hopefully, yeah.
They constructed the situation we're currently at, so they can really build anything.
And they are
That's
safe
fine.
now.
Yeah.
Considering they're safe now already.
Another one before you close this is Australia. I lived there for 10 years. So the Sydney Olympic, because right now, New South Wales, which is the state of New South Wales, where Sydney is, there's only like three cases now. They had no cases for 10 days straight, and then biglang they had 3. But if we were gonna do it's 7 hours, but in down under, the Sydney Olympic grounds is easy. There's hotels, there are basketball courts there. There's a cricket ground. There's even rugby. So there's a lot of I believe Novotels there, and other facilities that could be transferred into a basketball court. So that's also one place.
Ang maganda nito, baka nakikinig sa atin si FIBA so they could get some ideas from this podcast, di ba?
Pero in Australia, I wanted to add, baka bawal ang Gilas dun, ha?
Ay, hindi sila makakaulit. They are the away team, so they don't have the numbers.
Di ba friends na sila?
Yes, friends na. The youth teams.
Friends na sila.
Well, we can say
together.
the same thing with Luke Longley and Chot Reyes yet. Well, for all we know.
Pero, good thing you already brought up that Gilas thing. We have to remember, wala pa tayong team. PBA is in the bubble right now, and I don't think they'd be available to do that or to provide one pagdating ng February, or it would be very tight, or kung kailan maggawin yung FIBA bubble, that FIBA Asia Cup bubble. So the question is, sino ipapadala ng SBP for Gilas Pilipinas? Let me start with you, Noel, kasi kukuha ko ng maiinom.
Okay,
On
so
the rocks.
right,
Rocks.
not clear about the eligibility rules if we're still gonna follow the eligibility rules of before. Yung kukuha sila ng... Kuha mo rin ako ng copy.
Perks of being roommates.
There's an optical illusion going on, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh no, just to share.
Harry
Yeah.
Houdini has
Yeah,
come
just to
into
share,
play.
guys. Sir
Yeah.
Jay left his Zoom screen and he's now in Sir Noel's screen, and they both got drinks in their hotel room in the PBA bubble in Clark.
I can switch my camera to where Jay is right now. Ayan siya, oh.
Akala ko nag-teleport.
Yeah, here. No, going back lang to the eligibility rules, because they've always wanted to have that changed. Actually, the Philippines was one of those countries that they wanted to have the rules, the eligibility rules changed, because there are certain countries, especially in West Asia, and probably you know what I'm talking about, that always find a way to bend the eligibility rules as far as naturalization goes. So yung pinupush natin ng Pilipinas is, why don't we just have players of blood? If it's proven that they are to the third, to at least hanggang lolo, na may dugo silang sa bansa, then fine, they can play. And that was already in motion in FIBA until the tragic death of Patrick Bowman. And that all stopped right there. So they're still using the naturalization rule up to now, pero we still don't know what's going to happen by 2023 or by any qualifier. As of now, we're still naturalizing players. That being said, we don't have a naturalized player right now. So that's the first step also. Sino ba? Justin Brownlee, napasok na yung papeles niya. So he's technically under process. Diba? But there have been so many other candidates also, like they're saying Chris McCullough, they're saying naunahan na nga tayo kay Lester Prosper, diba? There are so many other candidates now for naturalization. But also the curious case of Jordan Clarkson. That's another one, because Jordan Clarkson is Filipino. It's true, he's Filipino. But the thing is nga, he needs to tell FIBA, I'm Filipino and please allow me to play for the Philippines. I don't think that's gonna happen very, very soon, because Asian Games, he didn't play in Asian Games, pero that was not really governed by FIBA, yung Asian Games. Mas governed pa ng FIBA yung SEA Games, actually, kung tutuusin. But the thing is, if we can get the right players together na totoong Pilipino, you're talking about guys like AJ Edu, Remy Martin, sino pa ba mga nandyan na nakakala? Jalen Green, lolo nun, Pilipino pa rin.
Yeah.
Diba? You get them to play here for the country. That changes the whole situation. And I'm not even talking about Kai Soto yet. So that changes a lot of things. I think Jay's question is, anong question mo ulit? Yung who am I? Who the heck am I?
No, sa dulo pa yun.
An eternity of who the heck am I?
This is, by the way, an eternity of basketball.
For these qualifiers lang. For this bubble lang.
Bubble. No, for this bubble, I would really think, if you wanna, pwede ba si Ange Kouame naturalize that quick?
Yeah, we can get him. Or you know who might get naturalized real quick? I might piss you guys off with my answer. Benvenido Marañon. Sa football naman. His papers are there.
Alam nga mag-basketball yun.
Naturalized player pa rin.
I was waiting for a basketball answer. Diba?
They need a kicker inside, you know. When a brawl happens, you need a kicker.
Kicker na lang, Australia. Gusto mo
hit somebody.
Hit somebody.
Question, I'm not sure who we can naturalize quickly, pero ito lang naman ang problema natin, Indonesia and Thailand, so we really don't need to naturalize. Although, news came out that Indonesia has already naturalized Lester Prosper. And Brandon Jawato...
They had two, right?
Yeah, Brandon Jawato is really supposed to be Indonesian because his father's from Java, diba? He's from Bali pala. His father's from Bali, his mom's from Los Angeles. Yeah. But the thing is, he's still naturalized. So, kailangan nila mamili. Now they have two. They can bring in Brandon Jawato to play in one game and then they can bring in Lester Prosper. Sa akin, Lester Prosper ka na lang. The guy's 6'9", diba? And he's really, really good. So, even if you send, like sabihin natin, a college team, because everybody in the PBA is here, or everybody, gawa kayo ng MPBL selection probably and just have a good coach handle that, we can still beat Thailand and Indonesia. It's not gonna be by 30 or 40 points, but we can still beat them. The purpose lang naman is to qualify. And Jay already mentioned, we're qualified anyway. We're just doing this to warm up. So we don't really need a national team na malakas. For this one, let's just send them. But you're talking about 2023, that's a different story altogether. You're talking about 2021, that's a different story altogether.
So, in addition pala, since you mentioned this, nakalimutan ko itanong kanina, players and coach. Sino ang coach ng for 2021 muna, for this bubble?
I am going to probably surprise a lot of people by saying this, but I think Louie Alas is perfect. Louie Alas would be perfect.
And it's vacant.
Yeah, he's not doing anything right now. Alex Compton would be another consideration.
He's in the States. Alex left for the States.
Yeah, there's news that he's moving.
All you have to do is, Alex, racket ka muna, Alex. Sandali lang to. Babalik yun. Yung pa si Alex, ako pa. Gagano si Alex, ako pa. Sige. Ano oras akong lipad? Gaganyan pa si Alex niyan. Somebody who's probably that's not in the SBP group right now, but everybody in the SBP is kind of busy already right now because they're doing the 3x3 also. They're also the 3x3 ng PBA is about to start also. We have the PBA also ongoing, so they could get distracted. What if they say November game na tayo? I'm sure the SBP has a plan already. But in case November game na tayo, yeah, just get whoever you can at the moment, and then the coach who's vacant. And I believe that Louie Alas would be a great motivator for kids. He's proven it in Letran, obviously in the PBA. And if you can just get Alex Compton to join him, they've been together before in Alaska. So okay, magandang experience din yan sa mga bata.
Actually, that's a very good
Claudia,
idea.
sino ang consideration mo? That, you mentioned very good consideration. Pero originally, who do you have in mind?
I was gonna still stick to Mark Dickel for continuity, no.
Pero nasa bubble si Dickel ngayon.
Yeah, now he's in the bubble. But I like Noel's idea, Louie Alas. That's a very good idea.
But the players?
The players get the best from the UAP NCAA. I mean, you get Calvin Oftana, right? You have Thirdy Ravenna. You could still use him. You got the Nieto brothers are in the PBA now, no?
They were actually drafted on loan for Gilas sila until 2023.
But they're in the
may team na sila.
Their
rights are already protected by a team, pero wala sila sa bubble.
Oh, so yun. So the Nieto brothers, and then Isaac Go is in the bubble.
Wala rin. Right? And then remember that 5 PBA draftees that are on loan for Gilas.
No, but Isaac Go is in the bubble.
No, he's not in the bubble. Isaac Go. Wala siya sa lineup. Wala siya sa lineup ng ano.
Yun. So those 5 teams, 5 players that are
Isaac Go. Yeah. That's the Nieto twins, Ray Suerte, and Alin Bonanati.
And then you got Thirdy Ravenna. He's not in the Japan League. And then you got
you can get some of these college kids. It's fine.
Yeah, UAP. And then Louie Alas. I like the concept. I actually like as a coach.
Sa akin also, we're overlooking the guys from the MPBL. There are a lot of guys also in the MPBL who are actually PBA ready, PBA worthy already. They just don't have a team. I mean, there are guys also who don't have a team right now, like sila Ping Eximiniano. I mean, they can just suit up for.
Exactly. For this against Thailand, against Indonesia and Thailand. Yeah, tama. I mean, and then as a coach, Louie Alas, and let's try to stay with the very good, a coach that has integrity. In their running in their system. I think Claro knows exactly what I'm talking about, but a coach that has integrity and that doesn't put their players in positions that they don't want to be in.
Claro, since nabanggit ka na ni Claudia, who do you think should run Gilas and sino ba yung tatakbo para sa Gilas?
Okay, I think these are all great ideas from everyone, but I will go with Tab for coach, and then you'll set up this team with amateurs like Gilas 1. Like what Claudia said, and then you can add the MPBL guys who fit the criteria of Coach Tab, and assuming that we could take care of the papers on time or rush them, then let's get Kouame because you see the way he plays, and he'll be a great fit for us at the international level.
That's a good one. Lance?
It's good to know that you already have a core of players from the cadets, the 5 players you mentioned. At least if you're going to augment the lineup, you already have 5 solid players that essentially your first 5, those 5. So you can just plug in, let's say, a shooter or a defender or a rebounder or whatever you see fit into the team. The good thing is we do have a luxury of sending a lesser quality team, because whatever happens, we're qualified anyway. So that's a good luxury to have. And I guess even a B team of the Philippines is still better than the best that the other nations can field because of the deep basketball pool that we have in the country. I never really thought of Louie Alas before the episode, pero that's a viable option. Magandang option yun kasi he's a proven mentor, a defensive tactician at that. So at least if you have like a group of players that possibly haven't played before or haven't played extensively before, at least you have someone that preaches defense and everybody buys into that. Ayun. Well, if Louie Alas is not available, then if you want an extra defender, Louie Gonzalez is an option. Well, we all know what happened. Ayun. And then, well, get any coach and then let him coach via Zoom. Pwede naman siguro kung sakali. Wala na option. Pero kidding aside, Louie Alas is a good fit or a good you can probably say it's a placeholder coach kasi you won't expect him to really be the one in charge for 2023. But at least it's nice to have a seasoned tactician even for a 2021 qualification lineup like this.
Okay, so just to close this one, ang naisip ko lang dito para mabilis, since there was already a pattern with this one na sending a good core group of a team. If you'd remember, the Ateneo team representing the Philippines in the Jones Cup, actually ang biro ko nga doon is nagsawa na ang Ateneo makipag-tune up sa mga teams dito sa Pilipinas. They have to travel abroad just to have a tune up with more competitive teams. They represented the Philippines in the Jones Cup. They defeated the national team of Chinese Taipei. Mind you, that's a national team. Team A yun ng Chinese Taipei. They defeated it. Diba? There's no way they won't be able to do it again against Indonesia and Thailand. They might pull off an upset against South Korea, knowing that you have that core of Isaac Go returning. If 30 Ravena is available,
hirap naman South Korea, Jay. Ateneo, sorry, Baldwin, I love you, pero wow, ang hirap nun.
I'm sure that pero I don't know, they might pull off an upset.
It's a tall order, pero if Yun Bin plays, it's over.
Actually, if there's a coach that knows how to beat Korea, it's Tab Baldwin. If there's a coach who knows how to beat any of them, Iran, Korea, and China, it's Tab Baldwin talaga. He came so close in 2015 in beating China talaga.
Pero using the Ateneo, You're saying using the Ateneo lineup or...
See, Tab Baldwin, you have to know that Tab Baldwin will choose his parts. He's not going to take a team as a whole. Diba?
He's not going to take a team as a whole, yeah.
Ateneo team that won the championship was created by Tab Baldwin from scratch talaga. And then you just need players who are soldiers. Yun lang naman kay Tab. That's why during the Olympic qualifiers of 2016, that Gilas program did not work kasi ang dami niyang PBA players na yung tipo may mga sungay. May mga sungay na dun sa team na yan. I won't mention who, but that was not a very good team to have. In 2015, that was a mission team. Diba? That was not the same team that Tab had for 2016. So, pachi-pachi, yung hawak ng Tab ng 2016. And they couldn't pull it off. But in 2015, when they lost to Palestine in the first game and beat everybody, including Iran, they could have beaten China. That team could have beaten China, even with what they had. So, even with what they had. So, if you want to beat Korea and Tab knows that you're going to have to go up against Korea, which is not going to happen in this qualifier anyway, he will construct a team that can beat Korea. And give him 3 months, he will be able to beat Korea. That's how good he is.
Yes, that is true. I agree. And besides, he's not gonna be able to, alam naman niya na yung buong Ateneo team niya is, meron pang mga kulang doon, they're still developing. He has this luxury to insert people na alam niyang capable na. For example, if you have a Juan Gomez Del Llano, who for sure, sabihin natin, not on the subject of debating, pero pwede nating kung si BJ Andrade, diba? Tabi-tabi muna siyang konti. Palit natin si Juan Gomez Del Llano, diba? If guys like si Pat Magdenberg na alam natin mag-evolve pa yung laro, diba? Pwedeng ipalit muna natin doon. Isoli muna natin si Isaac Go, diba? Then you have Alin Bolanadi, nandiyan pa yung mga Nieto twins mo, then you have 30 nga, like I've said, kung hindi pa siya naglalaro sa Japan or payagan siya ng Japan na maglaro, for the national team. I mean,
Kobe Paras ka pa.
Oh, may Kobe Paras ka pa, 'di ba? I mean, all those guys, he has that luxury to fill in the spots na alam niyang to fill in the spots na alam niya makakapag-contribute do sa system niya at aayon din or will agree to the system that he has in place.
Since we're talking about the South Korea game, no? Not necessarily Indonesia, Thailand, no?
more for a team to beat South Korea. Since
Yeah,
they're in our
team to
group.
beat,
kung ganun, I agree, Baldwin. Pero wag yung core of Ateneo.
But actually, it doesn't matter really kasi if we beat Thailand and Indonesia, we're actually qualified for the FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers.
We're
Kasi
qualified
second place
anyway.
tayo sa group.
Yeah, we're
Then,
qualified.
parang just to give it a shot to South Korea because since South Korea is already there and we have been tormented by South Korea for so long already, it's your shot, di ba? Chot Reyes had his shot already. It's the Baldwin's turn to have his shot already to have a crack at South Korea. Now that I've mentioned FIBA Asia Cup 2021, this is the actual thing. So, ito yung talagang pinaglalabanan. That's why we have these qualifiers, this FIBA World Cup style qualifiers because we have this continental championship na nangyayari every 4 years. It happened in 2017 sa Lebanon. It will happen again in 2021. That is in the 3rd week or 4th week ng August yon. The question is, sa tingin nyo, saan gaganapin yun? Kasi you have to remember, wala pang host ang FIBA Asia Cup 2021. That's the 5th question. That's the last question for this episode. Claro, I wanna hear your take. Ano sa tingin mo, saan magaganap ang FIBA Asia Cup 2021?
No, just emotionally, dito na lang sa Pilipinas.
That's on August, ha?
Las Piñas?
Exactly.
August yun. Oo.
Yeah, just to be feasible and objective, the teams that the countries we just mentioned last time, we all agreed with from Lance, and then you can add South Korea to the list. So I think those are the prime candidates. But again, it goes down to the facilities. But I'd tip my hat maybe for Korea, given their infrastructure and everything.
You have to remember you're housing 16 teams. 16 teams
Yes.
na to. Itong kukunin mo. So you have South Korea for this one, claro?
Yes, because the other ASEAN teams, again, facilities might be a bit of a concern. So I go with Korea, and I know that they've done quite well also in handling the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Claudia, your turn. Saan magaganap ang championship, ang Asian Championship?
This is gonna be such a weird question, and I might be battered for it. Australia is Oceania.
Kasama si Australia,
FIBA
kasama
Asia.
si New Zealand.
Yes.
It's FIBA Asia, kasama na sila.
I'll put Australia there. I'll put New Zealand there. But they're rugby. Both are rugby countries. But I would put Australia and New Zealand there. They could construct the facilities for basketball. Then I would put Taiwan, Korea, and then even Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have great facilities for basketball, Australia, in
Yeah.
particular, with their national league. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, put them in the Sydney Olympic grounds. New Zealand, they have the stringent. But this is already August, and we already could see the
So August na,
yeah, this is how good Australia and New Zealand are in terms of fighting COVID. So I would agree with Clara that Korea is going to be in the list, and my top 5 would be Australia, New Zealand, and then South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, and then China.
Lance.
Well, sentimentally, my heart says Philippines. Given that everything is okay by then, that there's a vaccine, there's a reduced need for face mask or face shield already, and social distancing is a thing of the past. So hoping somehow, but given the rate that we are within right now in terms of flattening the curve, I don't see that happening. Because you have to prepare at least a year in advance for this. So whoever is hosting is somehow should be planning as early as now, if not as early as August. So as always, you go with countries or territories that already have the facilities ready. And usually it tends to be the East Asian countries like China, South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. So they already have the ready facilities already. They don't need to build anything from scratch. They don't need to burn taxpayers' money to build ostentatious facilities anymore. So they have ready facilities. So all you have to do is to mix and match it, tailor fit it into good use, and they just wait for the things to come. So my bet would be one of those 4 East Asian countries. So China, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. So those would be the ideal countries because you don't need to really build anything new. They already have it. So parang if they've built it, so it's just a matter of the teams coming. So some Field of Dreams reference for you right there.
Ayaw niya, but ayaw niya sa Australia.
Two
Tayo
thumbs up
sa
si Noel.
tayo nyo sa Philippines, di ba? O, tapos sa ano tayo, sa Phil Oil tayo maglaro lahat. O.
Pahirap, ang ganda ng parking doon.
Tapos yung lahat ng empty na room sa Santolan Town Plaza, yun yung kwarto. O.
Tsaka may hotdog, may government
Yes.
hotdog din
Mas
doon.
masarap yung hotdog sa Phil Oil, di ba? Compared to privately owned
May San Juan
stadiums.
Arena pa, tapos may dalawang venue kagad yun. O. Kaya lang, mag-iingat ka sa San Juan Arena kasi pag upo mo, yung plastic baka mabiyak.
Noel.
I was thinking about inserting something there. If you want it in Australia and it's done in August, do you guys have any idea how cold it is in Australia?
Yeah. It is, at that time, it is. I live there. The reason why I put Australia is because I could go there. I'm Australian, so I could go there, right? So
it's ridiculously cold already by that.
Sentimental pick din niya yun. Sentimental
So,
pick.
to answer Jay's question, Australia is number 2 on my list talaga. Na a place where tama si Claudia, the infrastructure is all there, and then if they choose to host, and they're the defending champions anyway, di ba? So they can actually just have, hey, kung sino man yung defending champion, dapat siya yung home court. They can actually just do that, di ba? But there's one place that everybody's overlooking right now that does have the facilities, they have the resources on short notice to actually host the tournament. Doha, Qatar. That is one place talaga that they don't care. The Qatar Basketball Federation say, you have the Asian Championship. We don't care how much we spend. We'll just get all the sheiks together and put it together. And they have world-class facilities. I was there 3 times naman already in the past. One of them was for a FIBA Asia Champions Cup. There's this place called the El Garrafa Stadium. Ang ganda ng location niya, and it's connected to several courts also within that area. So if you're going to have several competitions going on, there's El Garrafa, there's a couple of more stadiums kasi may liga rin sila doon. So, and you can house them in maraming hotels doon. So again, and this is a country that's also longing to get tourism back after this pandemic. And I'm sure that they will make sure that they will spend to have everybody safe. So if it's happening August 2021, my money would be on Doha, Qatar to do that. They have not hosted a FIBA event na major. They hosted the 2006 Asian Games. That's also a big deal. So they do have an infrastructure already there. Pero in terms of basketball, they have the facilities there. Although basketball is not their number 1 sport, they would love to have it there. And also to make a point to FIBA na, oh, hindi kami mandaraya. We'll prove it to you.
I have to check on that. That's a good answer. Kasi as far as I can remember, hindi. Qatar is actually included in the FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers. I know they're fighting for a qualification as well. And my answer actually is, since FIBA, I'm thinking FIBA is sawa na sa China. There's no better term to put on it. Sawa na sa China si FIBA. They just had the World Cup right there. Pero considering naman kasi si China, talking about the ease of doing everything, especially in such a short time, kaya ni China yan, di ba? The facilities are already there. So, talagang yun yung go-to place talaga ni FIBA. But again, lalabas doon yung factor na baka sawa na si FIBA sa China. Pwede yon. Then, we cannot have the Asia Cup qualifiers in Japan, in Philippines, in Indonesia. We cannot have that because we're going to host, these 3 countries are going to host the 2023 qualifiers. So para maiba din, di ba?
World Cup, you mean?
Sa World Cup pala. So World Cup, sorry. So para maiba din. So, the safe, nandun yung, sabihin na natin, Plan C si China. Plan B are the Middle Eastern teams. Yung either they do it in UAE, Abu Dhabi, or Dubai. Qatar is a good option. Actually, it's a really great option. Pero I'll go with Claudia here that either Australia, New Zealand, or both will host the Asian Championships. For sure, they can do it in a really, really quick time to put the resources in place. And also, you have to remember, especially New Zealand. New Zealand became a model of how to beat the COVID-19 pandemic, diba? So, parang gagawin nilang model si New Zealand na, oy, we are going to host FIBA Asia Cup here because New Zealand is a model country that beat the COVID-19 pandemic, and we think New Zealand, kaming taga FIBA, all the players na nandito, we feel we are safe because we are in New Zealand ligtas ang mga citizens sila from this pandemic. Yun lang naiisip ko. Pero, you have to remember, all consideration pa lang to. Hindi pa natin alam ang actual na plano ni FIBA. It's just a basic thing na lumabas sa news. FIBA is considering to do a bubble setup to complete the November 2020 and February 2021 windows of the Asia Cup qualifiers. And you have to remember, meron pang wildcard window yan for all the third placers in the group para makakumpleto dun sa 16 teams na makakasama sa FIBA Asia Cup that will happen in August 2021. Ngayon, ba't ba natin pinag-usapan to? Because we are here in the PBA bubble. And isa pang bukod sa pakay ng PBA na unti-unting ibalik yung normalcy.
You said another word. I don't want to cut it because this podcast is a bit long, but you said pakay. What's that? Right. Well,
Ding 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 ding.
Claro, do you want
Bukod?
Pakay.
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 Noel, may pahabol before we close this episode.
What's pakay? Kasi bukod is bukod is whatever or a different option. Bukod sa, parang ganon. Or
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, what, what is pakay?
Use pakay in a sentence, Sir Noel.
Pakay in a sentence. I'm Pakay the sailor.
Toot, toot. Mo Popeye song.
Labo.
Pakay. Claro, what is Pakay?
I throw in the towel. I can't reach my towel.
Ding 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 ding.
Sentence, the correct way.
Sorry, sir. I lost your audio a bit.
Sorry. Use Pakay in a sentence the correct way. Yun ang sabi nyo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ang pakay namin ay mapasa amin ang paglalaro ng FIBA Asia FIBA Asia Cup sa darating na taon.
Want. Desire.
Like or our goal. Our goal.
Yes,
goal.
it's there.
Okay,
Purpose.
Yeah, it says purpose. Yeah.
Purpose.
Goal.
So we share the points?
Yes. Oh, don't get 1 point. You get both 1 point.
Okay, 1-1 na tayo. I fought
Okay,
out,
so +1 for both.
Positive. Pero,
I fought out of my negative for cheating last game.
It's a nice way to end the episode.
Hindi pa natin napag-usapan pala kung ano premyo nila, no? Whoever gets the most.
Whoever loses will treat all of us out.
Ay, ganito.
So before the year before the year ends yung deadline.
Anong size, Claro?
No, if I win, Claudia will get us coffee. If Claudia wins, I'll get everybody shirts, including Sir Noel.
Ayaw mo sige, pwede.
Oh,
Pwede.
shirts from
I won't say no to that.
shirts from
Okay.
Noel, go ahead.
Pagtabla, paktay kayo, paktay. Hindi paktay.
Anyways, ang ganda na. That's a nice way to close the episode. Meron tayong quick run-in with the Claudia and Claro versus Tagalog. But again, going back again, ang pinaka-pakay ng PBA in this PBA bubble is to give the Filipino people a sense of normalcy. Pero in hindsight, the other purpose of this, it's not just only for the Filipino people, but to be a model as well to everyone who is doing professional leagues, especially here in the Asian regions. Ang ganda na pag-usapan natin. Sana may nakuha kayo. Pero please lang, huwag nyo na itanong sa amin, who the heck are we?